Hey, what's up, everybody? This is podcast number 31, Trust the Profits. Today, we're going to do something a little different and talk about the basics of betting at the horse track, some basic strategy with those bet types. And we got a couple guests on today. We got Vinny Blonde from Picks by Dynasty. Welcome, Vinny. And we have a first timer out here, the producer that can rap and control the maestro, aka Mark.
That I can do. Horse betting, that's what I'm new at.
And that's why you're here tonight. It is, by the way, it is January 3rd. Things have been a little quiet on my front. I just am suffering with the virus. I've been a COVIDian now for a few days. No sense of smell, no sense of taste. So that's fucking wonderful. But other than that, I guess relatively healthy, but beyond all that, this is podcast 31, famous number 31s that we can talk about today. Reggie Miller, the big-eared fucking freak show from the Indiana Pacers, who, being from Detroit, as I talk about all the time, being a Bad Boys fan, one of the most hated individuals in the history of the NBA. I think that goes for Bulls fans too, by the way, and probably a lot of Eastern Conference teams, Cleveland.
I saw Reggie Miller have one of his worst shooting performances of all time at Boston. He was like 2 for 19 shooting.
Wow. That's rare.
It was unreal. We went specifically to see Reggie Miller, and he went like 2 for 19, and I think ended the game with like 8 or 10 points or something like that.
The dude, I mean, you hated him for a reason because he's a stud. He was a pimp, one of the best shooters ever. Obnoxious, big ear. I mean, he's that guy. He's the guy that, like, in gym class, if he's on your team, he's the funnest dude to have on your team. But if he's on the other team, you fucking hate him.
Right.
Other 31s, Mike Piazza, Dodgers. Never was a fan. Great player. Jamie Lewis from most of his career over there in the I think that's the producer's team, if I remember right. Baltimore, the Ravens.
Well, that's my son's team.
That's right. That's
my.
I knew.
I'm a.
Don't say it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're not allowed to say that anymore here, right?
Lions are going to the Super Bowl.
Detroit shitbag Lions, right?
Oh,
go ahead.
That's them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, at least your son had a couple good years there with in that same year, Jamal Lewis. That dude was. He was a pimp for all the fantasy football dorks out there. Me being one of them back in the day. He was a stud. And then my personal favorite, Greg Maddux from the Braves, one of the best pitchers of all time, the best touchy-feely pitcher of all time. And lastly, for the formula's sake, Grant Fuhr. Got to throw in a hockey guy, reluctantly. Everybody knows that's a bunch of Canadian dudes walking on water. Nobody cares about it. But on the real, the topic today is bet type, basic bet types and strategies, because we've been asked a bunch. Whenever we send out our sheets to somebody new, there's a lot of questions that come back. What are certain bet types and why and when? So we figured we'd throw Vinny on here, who's got a ton of experience with betting for years, and the producer, who is a complete rookie, kind of fits in, knows nothing, admittedly, which is why we had him on tonight. So I guess we'll just jump right into that and talk about the most basic you can get out of the win, place, and show bets. Obviously, I think in any track in America, it's usually a $2 minimum bet, win, place, show. Then obviously you can bet those individually, or you can pair up a win, place together, or a win, place, show bet all together. And that is a very reasonable bet to make. Probably one of the smarter bets you can make, no matter how sophisticated or deep into the game you are. That's always a decent option. We're going to talk a little bit about exactas, trifectas, and superfectas, and then the horizontal bets like daily doubles, pick 3, pick 4, all the way up to pick 6 type strategy. So I'll start first by saying, if I had to grind out a living with horse racing alone and feed my family, all right, and this is, Vinny, be thinking about this now too, because I'm going to come to you next. I would have 90% or more of my bankroll based into win, place, and exacta boxes. If I'm talking about not from fun time drinking buddies out at the field blowing a couple $100. I'm talking about if I had to grind out a living doing this, 90% of my money would be in what we call the profits. We call it core bets, win place, and exacta boxes. So Vinny, do you feel similarly on that topic, on that theory, or do you have anything different?
I think it would be tough to just grind it out on win place bets. I mean, it's definitely, that's what I play. But I mean, if you were trying to support people on that, I mean, you're really picking your spots and you're playing a lot. You're playing a lot of money win place. I mean,
yeah,
you're not
generally speaking, the horses that you're going to bet on a win place bet are going to be pretty chalky, meaning the lowest odds on the board. You're going to get. I mean, if you feel strongly enough to bet, $100 on a win place or a win alone, it's got to be somebody you're confident enough that most of the time that the public's going to feel that way too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing win place though, I mean that's another thing to get into is like looking at the odds, because like it gets one thing to play like win play. Like you said, win place show is a great bet, especially for beginning players. And like that's the bet really like beginning players should be playing until they can confidently like hit them. But I mean, like if you like a horse and like you said, like if he's 2-1, like you shouldn't be playing all three there at 2-1. Like you probably should either just hammer them.
I mean, obviously, we know that a show payout is going to be about $2.20 payout on a $2 bet, which is just asinine to even risk.
At 2-1. It's like, okay, well, either you look for a different horse to show at better odds, or you just play that horse to win. So, that's where my main bet is win place.
Yeah,
so I mean, that's I play.
Win place. Show, like you said, show only works if you're looking at a horse that's like. To me, I think the cutoff's probably around 4-1 odds. If it gets any chalkier than 4-1, you're going to make shit on a show bet. It's not even worth the $2 risk or whatever, multiplier of $2 you're talking about. I know some of you guys are $2 bettors and some are $100 bettors, but it's all relative. So the producer brought up to us before we started exactas. How do those work? Trifectas. Well, let's talk a little bit about that because I think everybody understands win, place, and show. And again, the only time if I want to bet hard, and I did this with Swiss Skydiver was a good example of it at the Belmont or Preakness. Which one did
Preakness? Yeah,
the Preakness. And she was like 5 or 6, maybe even 7-1. And so that was a race where I actually did bet the win place. I think I did $30 or $50 on a win place on her because she was 5 or I think she was 6-1. I want to say.
I think she was higher.
And I hit that, and it was awesome. And even the place bet paid. Now, based on a $2 bet, it paid out really nice because that horse was it was 8-1. Let's say I don't know, but had Authentic won that or whoever was the heavy favorite on that day. If it was 2-1, a place bet's going to pay off like maybe $3 if you're lucky. And it just isn't worth the bet. But when you got a 5 or 6 or 10-1 or anything higher than that, obviously the place bet and the show bet can definitely be worth it. But I don't know. I tend to back off of the show anytime you get under about 5-1. Is that
reasonable? I honestly don't play show all that much. On occasion I'll just do like a little show pool myself, and I'll just like start with like $5, play $5 the show, and if it comes in, just wheel that onto the next race and just play somebody else the show and see how high up I can get with it. But I'm not a huge show bet person.
So for the producer, when we're talking about win, place, show bet, you can bet all 3 of them together on one horse.
All right.
And that is a good beginner bet because basically, even if it's a favorite, you're betting this horse, say it's 3-1. If he wins, you win all 3 bets. If he gets second, you win 2 of the 3 bets. And even if he shows, you're hedging that even if he doesn't win, he'll at least get third,
Gotcha.
and that will pay for a portion of your losses on the win bet, right? So
Mhm.
that's the idea behind a win play show. And if he does win, you get all three of them. So
Cool.
that's a good starter bet if you like one horse out of the field to bet that. So I think that's probably the safest bet out of anything.
Yeah,
Win
yeah,
play
and
show
that's
is
why.
your safest bet. Even if it's a bomb, even if there's a 10 horse race and you're betting the sixth choice on the board that's 10-1 or something like that, you really only need him to get third. If you're betting a win play show, if he's 10-1, gets third, he's going to cover your spend.
Right.
If he gets second, you're going to win, and if he wins, you're going to win a lot. So, the next most obvious bet that most people make, and it's personally my favorite, is exactas. That is your top two horses. They have to finish first and second, and you can bet straight or you can box them. So, if you're betting two horses, and your two choices are the 1 and the 2, you can bet an exacta 1-2. That means that the 1 horse has to come first and the 2 horse has to come second. And if that happens, you get that bet, and it's going to pay off a lot more than a win bet would, or a place or show, obviously. But if you box it, all that means is the bet costs twice as much because it can come in either order.
Get it
So
either
it can
way.
come 1-2 or 2-1, and you get paid. And the longer the odds are on the horse that comes on top, it can affect that payout big time. So if you have 1-2 and you box it, and the one horse is a heavy favorite and the 2 horse is a long shot, and the 1 comes on top, it's going to pay 1 price. And if the 2 comes on top as the long shot, it's going to pay off way more. So you're always hoping whichever of your horses in a box that you have, you want the longest shot on top. So
it's gonna pay out whatever the odds were for the 1 on top.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the 1-2 box and the 2 is a much longer shot, you want it to come 1-2 or 2-1, but you really want it to come 2-1.
Right.
Yeah, because it's going to be a lot better. And you can throw in a third horse into the exacta box, which is what we do as the Profits core bet is a 3 horse exacta box. So you have 3 horses, and out of those 3, 2 of them have to come first, second in any order. So the basic $1 bet there becomes a $6 bet. And the reason for that is because there's 6 different ways that you're betting 6 different combinations of the 3.
Right.
So that is we call it a $1 bet, but it's really, in reality, it's a $6 bet because you're betting 6 bets in one. So that is my favorite personal bet. And you can also use that same strategy to trifecta, which is the top 3. All 3 of them have to be there for a trifecta, which is going to pay way more than the exacta, but it's much harder to hit. Go ahead.
So if I'm getting started and I want to make my first bets, the service that Trust the Profits provides will kind of steer me in the right direction, and I can see what you guys are picking as your choices, correct?
Yeah, we give a top 3 for every race, and that can be, we recommend the exacta box, but those same 3 can obviously be played for the trifecta too. So as far as exacta boxes go, which is our most profitable ROI wise, it's consistently our best option to make money with is exacta boxes. Vinny, do you have any thoughts on what do you guys see? Because Vinny's got his own a similar service, slightly different, but which do you guys prove with your numbers makes the most money consistently over time?
The most money over time for us is pick 3s, which we'll get into a little later. That's we make more money on doubles and pick 3s, really. Yeah. But exactas the thing with exactas is you just have to be using the right horses, because if you're gonna play as a new player, if you're gonna do $1 exacta box for $6, you don't want 2 heavy if there's a horse that's 2-1 and a horse that's 3-1 and a horse that's 6-1. If the first 2, if the 2-1 and the 3-1 come in, you're probably gonna get you're just breaking even.
Right. You're not gonna make much of that.
Right. So it's and some people are happy with that, because if you're they're just happy to cash a ticket. But if you're
and it keeps your bankroll alive longer if you do that 3 or 4 times on a 10 race program, you get to play all 10 and break even, you know, but yeah, that's exactly right with the exacta boxes. You definitely do not. And we get asked that question all the time because you'll see for our exotic, like a pick 3, and we'll get into that. Like you said, we'll have, let's say the 1, 2, and 3 in order of the top favorites to win the race, right? Our exacta box choices may not be 1, 2, 3. And the reason for that is because we have our formula tools are not based on for exacta box are not based on just winning, just the top 3 horses odds on winning that race. It's based on the top 3, not only to come first or second, which is a different, set of parameters altogether, because a horse that's some horses are going to win or not win. And by not win, I mean, some of them are going to win or fall on their face and not finish in the top 5 even. And some horses are consistently like a 2nd or 3rd place horse. And that is going to make a different option for exactas, a smarter choice sometimes. And also our tools bring in long shots into our exacta boxes that aren't necessarily the 3rd best or 2nd best horse in that race, but maybe they're the 5th best horse. But in comparison to their morning line odds, if it's a 30-1 horse, but we see value that thing is way better than 30-1, sometimes that sneaks in with our formula tools to be the 3rd choice in our exacta box, even though it's in reality, it's probably got the 5th best shot to win the race. But we're not talking about winning. We're talking about exacta. We're talking about getting 1st or 2nd. So,
right.
Yeah, when you're playing those, you just have to be conscious of the odds, because, sometimes you can hit, like, your top 2 choices could go off at good prices and you'll make good money on it. But sometimes, especially like today at Santa Anita, it's like I had a couple where my top 2 choices finished 1-2, but they were 6 horse fields. So they paid like for a $1 bet, they returned like $10. And it's like, yeah, it's a little bit of gain, but that's probably, in that scenario, that's probably not the smartest wager there to box 3 horses to get a $4 profit.
Right.
Yeah. And it's even possible too, like on a $1 bet, since it really truly is a $1 bet, but it turns out to be a $6 spend because of the 6 different combinations it can hit. It happens all the time. You can lose money on a win. So if it does come, let's say you got a heavy favorite, like Life is Good yesterday, for example, he went off at 1-5 or something like that.
Yep.
1-5, meaning he pays off $220 or $240 to win. He came on top. The 2nd favorite or whatever it was came 2nd. I think he was like 8-1. That exacta paid $3.10.
Yep.
And we spent $6 to win $3.10. So it's a net loss, right? But now you put that 2nd horse, if he was to pull the upset there, which was unlikely, obviously, but if that happened in the opposite direction, and that horse did pull the upset on Life is Good, which is one of the Kentucky Derby favorites, by the way, that thing would have paid off like probably $40 on a $6 bet or something along those lines, just throwing numbers out. But the odds can make or break an exacta box quickly. And same with Trifecta. It's the same. So for the producer, the rookie here, does that clear it all? I mean, we're trying to start at the bottom here. And
oh yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you got to watch the odds, because even,
if it's too chalky, it's not worth betting. I guess there's races where you just look at that and say, okay, on paper, I would have bet this race, but now it's so ridiculous with like that Life is Good horse at 1-9. That's what he was. I mean, we had him down as our strong play favorite to win, right? Which means, bet 4 or 5 times your normal wager on this thing, because it's so likely to happen. And that's what we recommended. But we didn't recommend it at 1-9 more. The thing was, we knew he was going to be a heavy favorite, but at 1-9, do you really want to risk if $100 at 1-9, you win like $10 profit? So
right,
yeah. For every $2 yesterday you bet on him to win, you got 40 cents.
Yeah. So at some point you have to use some logic, even with the choices, because we're putting out picks 4 hours before a race like that sometimes, and you can't avoid that. And the same thing can be said for exacta boxes. Sometimes you just have to back off, not bet it because it doesn't make sense at the time of the at the time of the race.
And that's probably the biggest thing for new players is just knowing not to play every race. Because like playing every race is fun because it keeps you involved. But realistically, like if, for example, like I like on a 10 race card, I maybe play 3 races if I like them. And like there's days where I'll handicap a whole card, and because of odds, I just like I won't play. And I'll just sit there and watch because it's like you really need like it's a game where you really need to pick your spots. Like if you can win 30%, if you can cash a ticket 30% of the time, like that's pretty good. So if you're like, if
It's
you
like
limit
baseball, man, 300 batting average is pretty good.
Yeah. If you can limit your, like if you can limit when you're playing and you can just like you play when you have a really strong opinion, like that's kind of where that's where people can really make money in this, like in this game is like, okay, well, I like, for example, like Life is Good paid 240 yesterday. The winner in the next race paid 1960. I had that winner. So that was one of the races I played yesterday. So like that was much, it was much, it was much less likely that horse was going to win, but for the value it was worth it was worth playing the $2 win bet to have a chance to win more than 40 cents.
Right. Yeah. If I'm going to spend a few bucks on a bet, I want a chance to actually win something, not, even
if you
bring back,
even if you're a $2 player, even if you're a $2 player and you bet 20 on Life is Good, you would have won $4. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Buy a hot dog or whatever you're going to do with it. But
so much rather spend that same amount of money with a smaller chance of winning big. That's that's the way I see it.
Yeah, within reason.
And that's where new players get frustrated because it's like, there can literally be days where like, especially at like a Santa Anita day where, you have 8 or 9 races and all the winners are pretty much favorites. Like if you played every race, like there's you could cash 9 win bets and only come away with like $3.
Right.
And it's like, well, if you only played half of those, you probably would have doubled what you made, like what you came home with, because you didn't have to keep putting $2 in to win 3.
Right.
So it's just like, it's really picking your spots is a huge thing in this game where like I've really, the last couple of years I've been more disciplined and trying to do that rather than, because especially when I was younger, it was like, oh, I'm going to play a win bet every race. And it was like, oh, I had 6 winners. And it's like, oh, but I only made $20 because I was stupid.
Yeah. And you'll see on our sheets too, like we recommend a win and an exacta and a rolling pick 3 or daily double. We basically give a recommendation for every bet possible on the board. That by no means do we recommend playing every one of those. Otherwise, I mean, you're looking at between $1,000 and $1,500 every card if you played every bet we recommend. So that's
I
mean, me personally, I rarely play anything. I rarely play pick 5 or pick 6s. I think first of all, I don't have the money to take stabs at that with any real chance of winning consistently. Pick 3s, and I like to take a stab at pick 4s sometimes. But we'll get into that. Basically the next thing I wanted to touch on real quick, learn how to read a program, dude. Like it's not that hard, and you don't have to understand every single number either. You just have to understand, maybe every time, if you're a beginner, go and understand, a third of it. I don't know, whatever, understand a third of the numbers, and then, tack on a little more each time, but don't just go there and play freaking political agenda horse name guy, Trump kitten. Oh, I love Donald Trump, so I'm going to play this horse. Or I hate Donald Trump, I'm not going to play that horse. Or, whatever funny anecdote, stupid horse name thing. Like there's a lot of people that do that. And that's ignorant.
It works sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that works, but that's why like big days like the Kentucky Derby Day and stuff, like that's the one day where I would recommend that. Like you get like on like Kentucky Derby Day or like the Breeders' Cup days, you get a lot of people who like a lot of people who don't really follow the sport, who are playing, and most of their wagers they're doing just that's what he said. You know, they're looking at names, and they're just asking they're asking somebody in the room with them,
right,
who do you like? So then all of a sudden on those days, it's like, okay, well, here's this really good horse who on any other day would be 2-1, but all of a sudden he's 5-1 because this one horse is taking all of this ridiculous money for no reason. And it's like, your horse is probably the best horse. And so it's like, you watch and it's like, then he wins and your horse pays $10 instead of paying $6. So it's like days like that sometimes are really the days you want to you want to know how to at least know basics, and you want to stick to your gut and not follow the money, because there's a lot of stupid money on big days.
Yeah, Kentucky Derby Day is the best example ever. I mean, because there ends up being always every year there's 2 or 3 favorites that, and you see the celebrities interviewed on the track, not this year because of the virus stuff, but they all end up liking the same 3, and it's usually, this year it was Tis the Law and Authentic, and I can't remember, but I mean, there's always 2 or 3, and then everybody ends up betting those. So anybody else is going to be like 12, 20-1, 15-1.
A couple of years ago, there was a horse named My Boy Jack, who everybody loved. My Boy Jack because of his name, and people just kept playing it. And I think he went off like 2nd or 3rd choice in the Derby, and he was a horse that probably should have been like 15-1 in the Derby.
Yeah, I remember that.
He went off at like 5-1, and if you knew how to, if you understood the basics, you realize this horse had no shot of winning the Derby, and he took a ton of money. Patch the year before, I think it was either the year before or the year after, horse only had one eye. So he was like
they love the story.
He was fan favorite. Horse should have been 30-1. He goes off at 12-1. So it's you just get some of these horses on big days just take ridiculous money that they shouldn't. And all of a sudden the odds go in your favor for the horses that have a shot because the public's not betting them.
And we actually have a live look in at those bettors right here. This is what happens when you pick a political agenda horse or My Boy Jack or whatever. Live footage. So with that said, get a program and understand how to read it. Take 15 minutes. I mean, it's not rocket science. Otherwise, you're just going to be another homeless dude begging for food stamps at the booth, trying to get that, traded in for one last dime superfecta that can't miss. It's just ignorant. Speaking of superfecta, that's the next step beyond trifecta. I never bet them. Just I don't recommend superfectas to anybody. For the rookies, the producer, now you got to have the top 4, not just the top 3s for trifecta. Superfecta's top 4. I mean, you're getting into lottery ticket territory for me.
Yeah. Until, this year they changed it for the Derby. The Derby used to be $1 minimum for the superfecta, and that was actually one of the best. That was one of the most profitable wagers in the sport, was the $1 superfecta on Derby Day, because with 20 horses, nobody's really even the heaviest of favorites in the Derby is I think Tis the Law this year was 6-5 or 4-5 or something like that, which in reality isn't it's not great, but it's not bad. But when you're doing superfectas like that with horses like that, it's the horses underneath them are going to be plus 10-1 because there's 20 horses. So the Derby Super is the only time I really even play superfectas. I know a couple people, including my wife, she likes just doing the 10-cent superfecta boxes for $2.40 on a couple races and hoping, because sometimes they pay a lot. Sometimes if you can catch a couple long shots.
I saw some dude yesterday post one on Twitter. It was $1,800 for a $2 ticket or something. It was just lottery. I mean, you can also go to the freaking grocery store and get a Keno ticket
Right.
and let them spin the frickin' wheel and maybe hit that too. So that's the way I look at those. But
what you're looking at is a more measured.
Yeah, I'm a gambler, but I'm less of a gambler. I like to actually have, what I feel like some control over the bankroll, and there's a certain point in even trifectas. We're kind of tipping the scale on trifectas with the profits numbers to make those profitable. We don't recommend them yet because we're still below 0 ROI, but we're getting almost the point where we can consistently feel like we can give those out. Superfecta, that to me is like a pick 5, pick 6, where we hit for 10 grand one time. We're going to cover like a month's worth of losses, but is that really a positive ROI? Because the guy who jumped in one ticket too late on that $10,000 ticket is going to lose $9,900 waiting for the $10,000 ticket. So
yeah, those are tough. Like, I think those are tougher both of those tickets I think are tougher to box. Because I know you guys do like recommend the boxing with the exactas. For trifectas and supers, that's really where you have to, I think, like those are, like, I don't think those are beginner bets. Like those are like, that's like one of those things like you work your way up to, like you can sit like, okay, you're confident with win place bets. Okay, let's move on to exactas. Okay, you're hitting exactas like semi regularly. Then okay, try trifecta. But like those are bets that like I like boxing them is very tough.
Yeah.
And like it's usually like, okay, I really like this horse in this race, so I'm gonna put this horse on top. And then I'm gonna take a couple horses and put them for second place, take a couple horses and put them for third place. And if my horse wins, I hope that the horses that I picked to come underneath them come in the right order underneath, rather than because that saves a little money. It saves a little money rather than boxing, but if you're not confident in the race to begin with, like you probably shouldn't be playing it. Yeah. But and I mean, there are definitely some races where you look at it as a 10-horse race, like, okay, well, these 3 stand out. Like, I'm just gonna box them and hope all 3 of them run their race, and that's it. Like, that's it. But in most scenarios, like yesterday with like Life is Good, if you were playing a trifecta in that race, like I don't know why. I mean, I don't think it came back much, but realistically you would have put him on top, and you would have put a couple horses, like 1 or 2 horses to finish underneath him second, and you probably would have played the rest of them to come underneath him for third and hope for the biggest prices.
Yeah, meaning that Life is Good, you're locking in as the only one that can win. And that's the only way you can play a race like that. And yeah, that's not the type of stuff we'll cover right now, because that's strategy that's, like I said, that's a little further than we were going to go today. Yeah. So besides those, yeah, and it's an option to do again to save on the spend versus like a box. I mean, especially with superfecta, the boxes get, for example, on a superfecta, $1 superfecta is $24 to box 4 horses on that's a $1 bet. So that's why they offer a dime superfecta, so you can actually play. You can box 4 of them for $240. That's what he was talking about. That's
right.
And that is a fun little bet that you're going to win. I don't know, maybe occasionally enough to make it fun for you, but on a 10 race card, probably not going to hit any. Maybe you will, but
yeah, trifectas are tough. Like I know some people who are very good with them, but I mean, they definitely go through streaks where
you have to be willing to get hammered complete loss for a weekend. Say if you play steady all weekend, you might not hit one super, let alone a try. But the other thing I wanted to cover today before we get any further onto that is the horizontal exotic bets, which is basically all encompassing, is daily double, pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. They all work the same. But I've got a little graphic here. This is a sample of what we put out, Trust the Profits. So if you look at the line that says DD, the first line that says DD, that's a daily double. Basically, you're betting what horse is going to win race 1 and race 2. And that is a $1 bet. And you can see off to the right, on that same line, it actually says the bet cost is $12. So basically in race 1 in this sample, we're covering the 2, 4, and the 3. If any of those win, that covers the first leg of the daily double. If any horse besides 2, 4, or 3 wins, you're out. Your ticket is a loser. All right, so you have to win with the first race and the second race. In the second race on this sample, we have 4 horses, 6, 5, 4, 2. You have to win both of those in order to win the daily double. And just like Exactas, you can win. You could, in this case, it's a $12 bet. We covered 3 horses in the first race, 4 horses in the second race, and that's a simple math. It's 3 times 4. If you got 3 horses in one race, 4 in the other, so it's 3 times 4. If you were to add a 5th one in the second race, it would be a $15 bet, 3 times 5. I mean, that's how that works. And sometimes on a $12 bet like that, a lot of times you'll lose. Even if you win, you'll lose. If the 2 heavy favorites come in and they're both like even money odds, that dollar daily double might pay $4, and you spent $12 for this ticket in this case. But if the first one comes in and it's a 10-1. And the second one's a 10-1, you might win $100 for your $12 spend. So that's why we cover, in this sample, you'll see most races we cover 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5 or more horses in the same race, not because we think that, or we're recommending that 5 different horses are going to win, but it's, we might feel strongly on one of them, but, we hope that the 5th best horse comes in because he's 30-1, and if that happens, then we're getting paid. So you'll see, and that's that example I gave was the daily double. Pick 3 is the line right below it. Same exact thing, except you have to win all 3. If any of the 3 don't win, you're out. So, and pick 4 down the last line on this slide. That's a $90 bet. And again, the first race in that pick 4 example is race 2, 4 horses times 3 horses in the second leg times 5 times 3. That math is $90. So, and again, some pick 4s may pay $12 on a $90 bet. So you could hit that and still lose. You could also hit that, and I've seen pick 4s pay up to, I think our record for the profits is like $1,500. So I mean, it really depends on the odds of the horses that win, but there's 1,000 strategies on these type of bets based on, and the ROI proves it to us too. You can play very thin, meaning you could put 1 or 2 horses on every race and only spend, because if you bet $1 daily double, if you put 1 horse in the first leg, 1 horse in the second leg, it's truly only $1 bet. You can sit and do that all day long for $1. And you'll get paid the same as the guy who spends $12 like this ticket shows, or a guy who spends $50 for the same ticket. The payout's the same. So you got to balance whether you feel like you need to cover a bunch of horses in a leg, or if you can get away with just 1 or 2. And obviously, using that Life is Good example, because that was yesterday and it was fresh in everybody's mind, that was 1-9. That's a perfect example of a race where in one of these type of bets, you can single him by himself. So if that is race 1 on this example, that horse, you would put him by himself, and that would save you a ton of money versus, picking 4 or 5 horses in that race. So hopefully that's clear as mud for, somebody who's never done these type of bets. But with that said, how do you approach? You said that you guys have the most success in bets like that. The daily double, which is a 2-race sequence, pick 3, which is a 3-race sequence. What's your I guess your basic strategy walking into because most tracks, by the way, they offer rolling daily doubles, rolling pick 3s, meaning that every race begins a new one. So race 1 is a daily double and a pick 3. Race 2, even if you lost the first race 1 version of it, a brand new one starts in race 2 that goes for a daily double. It's picked race 2 and race 3. and it's like a fresh start every race. So when do you look at those and say, I got to get in on this one, or man, this one doesn't make sense? What's your first thing you look at?
Look at odds. If you know, like Life is Good yesterday, like just keep using that as an example. He was 1-9, 1-5. The next, so I looked at the next, like I looked at the race before his, and I looked at the race after his to see if there was anybody with like who was not going to be a heavy favorite that I liked. Be realizing like, okay, so instead of playing like a $2 win bet on Life is Good, I'm going to try to play a double with the horse I like in either of those next two legs and hope that I'm right, because the double is going to pay a lot more than the win bet. So that's what I look for. I look at odds first, and then like if there's a race where, you know, there might be a race, like I usually play like a 2x. My usual double is like either a 1x2 or a 2x3 is what I'll play. So it's like, okay, I like 2 horses in the first leg, I like 3 horses in the second leg, and I want to make sure that they're not all like there's not like a favorite on both. If I'm gonna play favorite, I'm just gonna sing like I'll just do a straight like one by one ticket.
Yeah, I remember it was there was I can't remember what event it was, but it was all the big name horses. It was late summer, and it was the race when all the females went head to head. Gamine and Swiss Skydiver and
the Kentucky Oaks, yeah.
That was it. Yes, and it was like you could throw. That was a perfect example of 2 races in a row, the Kentucky Oaks and the Derby, where you could do a double, and you could really single both races if you felt strongly enough, and just push all in on like a $20 daily double, a single in each or a double, 2 horses in each leg, and you didn't need to put 6 of them in each leg there. Like, I mean, it was like you knew Tiz the Law or whoever it was going to win the Kentucky Derby, in that case Authentic, but you didn't need to be looking at the 5th horse in there. So you need your best option is and it was Gamine and Swiss Skydiver, and there was one other, I can't remember the one who beat him.
She Dares the Devil. There
it is. So if you did those 3, there's an example of your 3x2 daily double. If you do those, that's a smart way to bet, and it's a $6 bet.
And like that's one of those examples though with using like if I didn't like, for example, for the going with the Derby, I didn't like Authentic. I really thought
I didn't either.
Right, I thought Tiz the Law was a lock.
In fact, like you said about on Derby Day, the one guy in the room who was betting, on political values or his cousin's niece's name or whatever. That was a perfect case of that. The one guy I was with that knew nothing about horse racing, sitting in the hot tub drinking beer. We were on a little like mini vacation. Dude's shit tanked, hammered after 33 beers, yucking it up about Authentic, just based on like, I think he likes Baffert because it was, he's Baffert. And that's the only reason he bet him, and he's the big winner of the day because he put, 50 across the board on Authentic, right. And the rest of us are, outsmarting ourselves. But
that's like one of those examples though for the Derby, like the Oaks Derby double this year. Swiss Skydiver and Gamine were very heavily bet in that race.
Pretty much even money.
Yeah, they were both. So I liked Tiz the Law I like Tiz the Law in the Derby. So that the double with those two, unless you're gonna spend unless you're a big better, like playing like $500 doubles and stuff like that, that double was only going to be returning like $1.50 for every $2 bet for both of them. So that's not a race where I would use that's why I wouldn't use both favorites there. So if I liked She Dares the Devil there, I'm probably just using She Dares the Devil and hoping Tiz the Law wins on the back end, and not using, at least for daily double purposes.
Yeah, because that She Dares the Devil was like 8
right, right. So it's like when you're playing doubles and stuff, when you get into that, odds, depending on how many horses you're using, odds really are important because you see some people online, they'll post $500 pick 3 and pick 4 tickets, and it's it returned they spent $500 on the ticket, and maybe the pick 4 returns 600, but it's okay, so you spent 500 to make 100 on a pick 5, where That's where like then probably the toughest thing in
time.
this, and probably the toughest thing like in horse racing for gambling purposes, like when you start getting into those type of bets, is ticket structure, because like
Totally.
any
bankroll management, man, and I know that from playing poker for 100 years of. I mean, you can't enter $500 tournaments if you don't have a bankroll to support, 100 entries of that.
Right.
So
like I hit that pick 5 yesterday at Santa Anita. It cost me 80. My ticket was $80. It returned 823 for the 50-cent bet. So not the best, not the worst. I probably even could have, like, my ticket probably should have been $40, but I didn't want a single Tis a Magician, which ended up, he was my top pick in that race, but I just wasn't confident enough to single him. So I added another horse in that race.
Coward.
Yep, which doubled the price of my ticket. And then it beat me. So it's like it ends up like, I'm glad I spent the extra money because I hit it and it paid nice. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, looking back at that ticket, this is where I probably, like, I should have just stuck with my gut and just played him instead of using a second horse in that race. So if you don't structure your tickets right, though, like, you can't, like you'll see people post like, oh, we hit the rolling pick 4. And it's like, yeah, but like, who has the budget to play a 4x4x4x4x4 pick 5 like every time one's offered?
Nobody. And that's
right. You can't do that.
I personally don't play those. I mean,
you can't. And those are bets, like, you see people online, people chase them, and people will go like a month or 2 without hitting one, and then they'll hit one for like 10. Yeah, you'll hit one for 10 grand, and they're like, and it's like, okay, well, now the process starts over. Like, the more races,
now you're gonna spend 11 grand to win that 10 again.
Yeah, right. You won 10, but what did you put into it?
Right.
Yep. And you might even win 10 grand twice quickly and really feel like you're a superstar, and then go a month without one. But yeah,
just whittle it away. So when we were looking at these here, this is a total newbie question, but I just want to be clear. So when we got our daily doubles, pick 3s, pick 5s, you have to, one of those horses there has to win in every one of those for you to win, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
And if one doesn't, you're out regardless. I mean, occasionally some tracks and some events will pay out like 4 out of 5.
Yeah, if nobody hits it and they're forced to get rid of, they have to get rid of their the pool, like 4 or 5 will pay out, or if just nobody hits it, like a portion will get paid out for 4 or 5. But those usually you don't, like 4 or 5 usually is not going to return that much. It has lately. I've seen a couple lately that have returned good amounts, but.
And then we can get into pick 6, which is the same exact concept again, but it just gets that much dumber for me. And they offer 20 cent on those 20 cent tickets.
Jackpot bets. Yeah.
And that is honestly, like, please, if you really aren't a specialist in that thing, just stay out of that. It's the dumbest bet. I mean, honestly, let's talk about going to the local casino, blow cigarette smoke all over each other next to the double diamond slot machine.
Play
penny slots all night, because that's what you're doing.
They're tough to hit. I've hit a couple. They're tough to hit. I have
too. I mean,
they're tough to hit. You can't be spending. The thing with the jackpot style that they did, which I absolutely hate, is that
stupid.
Yeah, they made it so if you're the only person who plays that sequence and has the winning ticket, you get the pool. And
a lot of times they're 6-figure or $1 million. Literally.
Right. They'll do like 5.
You can win $1 million for theoretically for a 20 cent investment,
right?
Which is never a 20 cent investment. But
what they do though is anytime that, like, so say me and you hit it, we don't get to split the whole pot. Right. We only get a portion of the pot, because then it carries over because it's a jackpot.
It has to be a single winner.
So really the only days that are worth playing them is when they have the mandatory payout days. And even those days, it's like, unless you're willing to spend a lot of money on their ticket, it's really not worth it, because, you're going to have to, like, odds are you're not going to be the lone ticket. And then you're going to end up like somebody's definitely going to hit it. You know, you don't.
You know who's
like,
gonna hit it is the guy who spent like $900 to build that ticket,
right?
Or $2,000. And if you're a beginner, I hope you're not spending like
No.
that. And so, why would you even get engaged in a game like that?
But
Just play $5 win play show bets, please, or $2.
You can have. I mean, like you can have like. If you can put together, like, instead of playing a $5, like a $5 win play show ticket, if you want to put $10 into one and hope for the best, like my father-in-law did it 2 summers ago. He played a pick 5. He played a 2x2x2x2x2 pick 5 and hit it for like $1,600. Like,
yeah, it can happen. I mean,
yeah, it's just like,
you know what it is. Like, you know what it is. Being from Detroit, everybody worked in an automotive plant. They used to hand out the parlay cards for football. You familiar with these things?
No.
Mark, you familiar with those at all? So
yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
So you can bet. I think you can bet as a minimum of $1, even just like this. And if you pick a 3-team parlay, meaning all 3 teams have to cover the spread, it's like $7 to win or whatever. If you pick a 4-team parlay, it's like $20 on your dollar. 5-team parlay, all the way up to like 10-team parlays pay out like $1,000. And I'm just throwing numbers out. I don't remember how those worked, but for $1, you can win 1,000. All you have to do is cover all 10 NFL games spread, which is fucking impossible, nearly. It can be done. And that's the same thing as these pick sixes. The difference is pick sixes, you don't have to just pick one team per game. You can pick 6 horses per race and try to really give yourself coverage, but that's when you start spending crazy money.
Yeah.
A typical pick 6 bet, if you wanted to have any realistic chance, is going to be at least $100. Probably more like $200 if you want to actually sweat a pick 6 to me. Anything less than that, you're an idiot. Actually, playing those, you're an idiot. The jackpot pick 6. I'll just be honest, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah,
how's that?
There's sucker bets.
How's that? You're a fucking idiot.
They're just sucker bets. It's just it's like, you know, and like that's what new people in the game just want to get those big scores, and that's why and that's why like during the earlier this year, because everything was shut down, you saw these smaller tracks like Fonner Park having like over $1 million in their pick 5 pool because people just wanted to try to hit for big money. And it's like
food stamp guy was over there with his dimes, stacking dimes in the corner, trying to make $100,000 out of it.
But yeah, those are bets, especially for beginning players. Those are bets that, like, until you consistently are picking winners, like, you don't play those. If you'd play them if you're with a group and you want to go in for like a group ticket,
yeah,
sure.
That's what I was gonna say.
But
we do wagering pools, you know, just me and some friends amongst ourselves. We'll each chip in $20, $50, whatever you want to do, and build a $500 ticket. Because I'm not spending $500 on a pick 5 ticket. But if Vinny gives me 20, Mark gives me 20, and 10 of my buddies give me 20, we'll all take a stab for $20 or $40, and you know, maybe you hit that. That's fun.
Yeah,
you want to do that type of thing. That's fun, and you're all rooting together too, and it's a good thing. Like if you're hanging out with your boys or whatever. But
right, those are
by yourself and repeatedly beat on $200-$300 tickets is stupid.
Yeah, unless if you have that if that's your bankroll, then by all means do it. But that's
have fun.
Yeah, that's not my bankroll at all. So it's like you gotta pick and choose when you play those type of bets. Because when I really started tracking my bets a few years ago, it was like I'd have like 5 winners and I would come home even because I was chasing these pick 5 tickets. Yeah. It was like I wouldn't hit a pick 5. You know, I go 4 for 5.
I know so many guys that do that.
Yeah, go 4 for 5 in the pick 5, and the one race I missed cost me my day's profit. And it's like, well, if I just cut that, you know, if I didn't spend the $50 on my pick 5 ticket and I just played my win place tickets, like I would have been up $70. But instead, I come home with 20 because
it's so hard. It's discipline. Yeah. Like bankroll discipline is the hardest thing about it for sure.
Yeah. So it's like
so easy to get caught up in, you know, especially if you get up early in the day and you're like you said, betting every race.
And that's one of those things.
You know, we'll just put $24 on this little pick 3. This got a real shot, and then another pick 3 later, you know, another 40. And next thing you know, your ROI for exactas would have been 20%. You would have made $40 on your investment or whatever. now you're losing because you're getting caught up in the sucker bets.
And yeah, and the other thing is like if you're gonna play those bets, actually go through the whole sequence first and then build your ticket. Don't build your don't be like, okay, well, the pick 5 starts this leg, like I need to play it. Like, let me look at this first leg, then let me look at the second leg, because I see that all the time. It's like people are like, oh, like I got to get in on this. Like they're putting guaranteed money in the pool. It's like, well, if you didn't look at the
5 million on this
yeah,
card.
it's like if you didn't look at the sequence, don't play it, because the odds of you, like, not only are you playing a bet that's already very tough to hit, but now you're playing a bet that's tough to hit, and you didn't look at the other races. Like you're just picking numbers, and it's like, yeah, you could win, but very, very unlikely. I see that all the time when I go with friends. They're like, oh, like you're going to play, like, oh, there's put like Saratoga, for example, puts like some days they'll put like $500,000 into the late pick 4 pool. And like, we'll get to like race 8 and they'll be like, oh my God, it's a late pick 4. Like, I want to play it. Like, help me build a ticket. And it's like, you didn't do it. Like, you didn't even look at the other races. Like, I'll help you, but this is really how you want to spend your money without looking at the other races first. You want to make a ticket 10 minutes before post. Good luck.
Yeah, that should be plenty of time for 4 races. Just basically to sum it all up, win place, we consistently have had ROI positive. Obviously, we've been around about a year. It's not every month we're positive. Win place and Exacta are clearly our core bets are basically profitable for the most part. There's some months we've had down. Daily double, very close to 0 for us. We've had about half the months up, half the months down, some really good months and some really bad at pick 3. A little more sporadic than daily double, as you'd expect, but also in our 12 or 13 month existence, I would say we've had probably 4 or 5 winning months and 6 or 7 losing months, but overall, again, close to 0. Pick 4, we start losing more. Pick 5, we lose more. Pick 6, we lose a lot. And like I said, I don't even touch that. I don't even touch pick 5s rarely, except for like wager pools with my friends where we all chip in together. Pick 4s are winnable. Pick 3s are very winnable. And I agree, daily doubles and pick 3s are winnable if you can find your spots.
Yeah, it's all about ticket structure. Like you find one, you have one horse you really like, you just use that horse. You really have to like know when to just use one horse and when you need to use more, because like there's nothing worse too than like yesterday on my pick 5 ticket, for example. I really liked Tis a Magician, and I didn't have
that thing had odds too, didn't it? Like,
yeah, he went off 4-1,
yeah,
and I didn't single him, and then he won, and it's like, oh, good, I'm alive. But it's also like, oh, I doubled all of my other tickets because
I think we had 4 out of 5 too, and we didn't have Tis a Magician.
Yeah, because it was like I really liked him, but I doubled all the price of all my tickets going through that race because I used the second horse.
Yeah, just as logic in a pick 3, 4, 5. If you have a single horse in a race in any of those legs, and then you add a second one, it doubles the cost of the ticket. Even if it's a $100 ticket, adding one horse to that one race makes it a $200 ticket. That's how careful you got to be on your spends.
Yeah, so it's like if I had single in it's not always bad because especially in those sequences, like my top pick doesn't always win, or I'm not that confident. But it's like that was one of the races.
We rarely single like that. I mean, it's hard to single.
Yeah, it's hard to single, but that you have you have to. But it's like you hate when I feel like there's nothing worse than when your top pick wins and you didn't single him, because then it's just like he was my top pick for a reason, but I didn't. And
here's live footage of Vinny's brain yesterday.
Yep.
I mean, that's just.
Yep. I mean, I got
rare to get,
and I got lucky
inside of somebody's head on film, but there it is.
And I got lucky that the ticket paid, because I knew the ticket with Life is. I knew playing $80 in that sequence was a lot because of Life is Good. Because if he was gonna be 1 to 9,
single, or should have been.
Right? Yeah. Well, you got the lowest.
We didn't. We were stupid.
It's that's tough, but if you beat them, there's your And that's what I said. Like when you have a heavy,
that's why we didn't, because it was like the small chance that we would beat them would have been fucking glorious. But
right, and that's where like I would have like realistically, if I was trying to beat them, I probably would have played a smaller ticket trying to beat them and not singled him and just not had him on that smaller ticket with those big favorites, because then, you know, instead of going 3 deep in that leg and using a 1, like going 3 deep with a 1-5 shot, like is just not, like, either use them or don't. Like if you're not that confident in them, don't, you know, don't spread in that, like in those legs. So it happens though.
So so for Mark here, the producer, anything I'm sure you understood about half of that probably, but
maybe half. I mean, I got a foundation, you know. I don't know if I'm ready to build just yet, but we've got the foundation down. I learned a lot of the terms, and I like, Vinny, what you said. You know, if you really like a horse and you want to play those doubles or whatever, then you're looking for the race before or after that, right? To add in.
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah, because
especially if you can, if you like one, like he said, if you like one that you can actually single, like Tis a Magician yesterday was a good example. 4-1, he loved that one. So now you can use that and single that horse and then play the race before or after, and you can maybe spread to 3 or 4 horses and still not spend much, because you're singled on the one race. That's a huge advantage if you feel like you can single one.
Yeah,
it's not a favorite, especially like that was 4-1, and if you feel like you can single that 4-1 and
I think that's something that a lot of people like are afraid to do. Like they'll like a horse that's like 6-1, and they won't.
Why do I like this so much when nobody else does?
Right, 6-1, people don't like. They're like, well, he's 6-1, but I like him, but apparently nobody else does. So I'm gonna throw in 3,
that, man. Yeah,
I'm gonna throw in 3 or 4 other horses, and then it's like that horse wins, and it's like, well, I really like this horse. Yeah. So you know, like if you really
was your
like
ROI generator, you're 6-1. If you're playing a sequence like that,
right,
your chance to make money was that you liked that 6-1 and you didn't single them. So now,
right. So like that's where, like, you know, you just press your opinions, because like if you start adding in every horse, like all of a sudden you got a $500 ticket, and if it chalks out, you're out. Like you're not winning. So it's like,
when you lose. We had a pick 5 the other day that I did a group bet with. I think the spend was 216, and we ended up winning 196. So we lost $20.
Yeah,
and it was a ridiculously chalky ticket, and it shouldn't have been, but it's just the way it fell. And it was like, so that was a pick 5. Those are hard enough to hit. I mean, but to hit one and then still lose is a slap in the face. So I didn't structure that. That was my personal ticket, and I didn't structure it as good as I could have, apparently, but it wasn't supposed to come pure chalk. I mean, it was like 5-2. And then I think 5-2 was the longest shot of the 5 races.
Right. So, and like, especially like once you really get into it, like, then there's like races where you see that like a horse might be 5-2 because there's a heavy favorite in the race, but that horse in like those multi-race wagers, like the pick 3, pick 4, pick 5s, is probably higher odds. So he's more worth the single than using like using the 6-5 shot, because
you're getting into like third tier.
Like there's a lot of different strategies with it, where there's a lot of different angles you can
Number one word of advice on that is don't play anything above a pick 3 if you're
beginning players.
If you're not winning at win, play, show, and exacta bets, and you want to move into daily double pick 3, if you're not winning at any of those levels, then there's zero reason to play anything higher, because it's just a crapshoot. It's that much harder to structure ticket. Yeah, I can't even, and I've been playing hardcore for 20 years. I can't even tell you how many. I can't make myself feel good about a pick 5, even if I spend $200 on it. Yeah. Rarely.
Win place is still that's where I make my most money, is really playing win place. That's the way I go. And then if you want to play, like, there's definitely some days, like There's definitely some days where I'll set aside extra money to play those pick fives because of the pools and things like that. Like Derby Day is one of them.
Yeah, I get sucked into them. Absolutely.
Yeah, like
it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to take a shot. But
it's fun to take.
Like I said, if I was trying to feed my family with it, wouldn't touch them, man.
Oh, those are If you're good,
and that's what it really comes down to. If you're really trying to win and manage a bankroll, you're not playing that shit.
No, right. It's tough. Yeah. And like if you are playing it, you like my rule generally with pick fives is I need 2 singles or I'd skip the sequence. That's generally and I make a couple exceptions like yesterday where I had 1 single and one where I was too deep. So I made an exception yesterday, but my rule is if I don't have 2 singles, I skip the sequence for a pick 5 because the tickets just become too expensive for it. Like for my personal bankroll, they're too expensive. So that's just how I play. That's how
rule
I
of
play
thumb.
them.
I like that. I mean, that's I kind of feel the same way on that, or at least 2 races with a single and a 2-piece. I mean, you can't be spreading 3 and 4 wide all the way down.
Right, you can't and if you have that bankroll, great, but I don't have it.
If you do, you won't have it long.
Vinny, an hour ago, I wouldn't have understood a lick of what you were saying, but I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's why we did this.
That was the point.
And and by the way, if enough people give us a little feedback on this, and if you want to see more of this type of strategy talk versus just the normal stuff we've done in the past, drop like a comment or ask questions, and we're flirting with the idea of doing a live question and answer type of thing with this type of stuff too, even at the risk of all our smart ass buddies asking how I got so sexy and stuff like that. But
it happens.
Yeah, and that's fine, but for real, I know we get asked in private a lot because I don't even, what does that even mean? What, they'll hear a term like Mark was saying, they'll hear a term and not know what it means, but they're embarrassed to say it. Like, who cares, dude? Like, are you really embarrassed to admit you don't know something about horse racing in front of a bunch of degenerates? Who gives a shit? So
we all have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And there's a subject that you could talk circles around us about and we'd be idiots too. So
yeah, no. If anybody wants any more information, just send a message.
Yeah.
I try to answer my DMs. Sometimes I don't, but I do my best.
You're kind of a dick, but not.
Yeah, I do my best. I filter through them like once every other day. So
yeah, like I said, if we have some good feedback here and people want a little more of this, it's the first time we've really tried to do an informational type thing. So. No problem doing it again if it's garners the attention, I suppose. So anything else, Mark, producer, what do you got? Anything?
No, I appreciate it, guys. I know I learned a lot, and hopefully anyone listening that's in the same boat as I am learned something as well. And like they said, they can always reach out to you or Vinny or any of you guys to find out more. I'm sure you guys will answer any questions they have.
Absolutely, man. Hey, by the way, the producer is responsible for making us look halfway professional here on YouTube because I had no freaking clue and still don't. But so thanks to Mark.
You're learning, El Hombre. You're learning.
Yeah. We'll get there. By the time it's obsolete and there's some other site that's taking over, it's gonna be MySpace before I understand it. But
oh man.
Anyway, thanks guys. Yeah, any questions, comments, throw them out there. We're here. Thanks everybody for listening and subscribing and everything like that. So peace.
Thank you.